Hey friends, my name is Cody Archer and I want to welcome you again to this week's Revive Live. I'm so glad that you're joining us from all around the world. Today I've got Bassem Adranly. I don't know if I said it right again.
Adranly.
Adranly. I've got you back with me again, Bassem. I'm glad that you're back.
Okay.
You know, last time that you were here, I was asking you about your perspective as an Arab Christian about Israel, and actually this has been one of the most popular interviews that I've had this whole year. And so I'm excited to have you back by popular demand. But today we're going to talk about what is happening in Gaza. If you've been following the news, which I'm sure you've got a little bit of an idea what's going on, we've been in 7 months of back and forth between Hamas and Gaza and Israel responding. Over 10 tunnels have been taken out over this last year. It's just a hot situation. You know, balloons being sent into Israel, fires being started. It just feels like there's non-stop action going on the border between Gaza and Israel. And so today I'm going to be asking Bassem, you know, some of his perspective as an Arab Christian. What is going on, some of the background, how does he see the situation? I know this is going to be really helpful and interesting for you. I want to ask you to like and share this broadcast before we jump in, and we just appreciate that in advance. Now, Bassem, the first thing I just want to jump right into is you're a pastor in Jerusalem, in an Arab-speaking congregation. Is this topic of Gaza and what's happening something in the minds of most Arab Christians, maybe in the Jerusalem area?
Maybe less in the Jerusalem area, but certainly it takes big part of people's mind because they are faced every day with the news. And unfortunately, they are faced with more one-sided news. And I always find that very sad.
Yeah.
So especially for believers, I mean, if you want to really serve God well, you cannot take stands. God loves both nations, and He wants us really to listen to all the sides and pray and let God reveal the truth so that we may serve really both, because I'm with both.
Yeah.
And God is with both, you know. There is a reason why both nations are in the land, and God has a perfect plan for both of them. But He wants us all the time to seek Him and to see what is on His mind and heart towards our nations.
Yeah. Now you, as someone who speaks 3 different languages, you speak Arabic fluently, Hebrew fluently, English fluently. Do you see some pretty obvious differences in the way things are reported locally in Arabic and Hebrew and English?
Major differences.
Major, okay.
From black to white.
Wow.
I mean. And that's very frustrating for me, especially when I see believers, you know, that, you know, during the march of, so-called the March of Return that started in the end of March this year, and how they were sending petitions against Israel. And I really feel very irritated because there's so much one-sided, and I believe we need to to look at the news from different perspective. I've written some thoughts of how do I see the last 12 or 13 years, what happened in Gaza and how things went from my personal perspective, and I wanted to share.
Yeah, I want us to jump into that.
Us, and also to share how I feel we should pray for the whole situation, especially with Gaza.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know when you look at Gaza too, it feels like there's almost not a day that goes by that something's not in the news of what's happening there.
Yes.
But yet then again, it kind of comes in waves. There's seasons where there's great intensity, there's lots of going on, but then there kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. So give us, what have you been seeing then these last 12, 13 years?
Well, as we know, things went really bad after the Second Intifada in the year 2000, and there was almost no any negotiations until 2005, when Israel decided to withdraw from Gaza. That was a good step, and that was the step right before the Palestinian elections that happened in the 27th of January 2006. And then in the elections, people elected Hamas. And the same day of the election, Hamas captured the Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit. So that was a very bad beginning of a good initiative that Israel did in withdrawing from Gaza. There was a working, functioning airport back then. And things were started to move in the right direction, let's say, or in a good direction, especially after the Second Intifada. So after the election of Hamas, you know, the world accused the West and Israel and the Palestinian Authority that they are against democracy. And that's not true. Why? Because the whole issue with Gaza, it's against the Oslo Agreement. Because in Oslo Agreement, in Annex 2, Article 3, point number 2, it reads like this. The nomination of any candidates, parties, or coalitions will be refused, and such nomination or registration, once made, will be cancelled if such candidates, parties, or coalitions, 1, commit or advocate racism, or pursue the implementation of their aims by unlawful or non-democratic means.
Wow.
So
that's really clear.
So it's not that the West rejected democracy. There is agreement, and Hamas fulfilled these two elements. And you know, right after the election of Hamas, you know, and the capture of Gilad Shalit, of course, they refused to release him. Israel started to put sanctions. And here where I see another thing in the news that always is hidden. Nobody is reporting it. It's not only Israel that gave sanctions, also the Palestinian Authority.
Oh, interesting.
In
I didn't
fact,
know that.
Yes, all these years. Because they in 2007, the Black Day of, you know, in June 14, 2007, you know, Hamas overthrew the Palestinian Authority in Gaza. And there was a massacre, you know, and one day between 176 to 700 Palestinians were murdered.
Wow.
Some of them were brutally thrown up from high buildings, you know.
Wow.
So the Palestinian Authority had sanctions over Gaza all these years. The last one was like Qatar donated 2 generators for electricity. To Gaza to generate electricity that will give them 2 or 3 extra hours each day. And the Palestinian Authority were, you know,
blocking it? Or?
Blocking them to enter Gaza.
Wow.
So that is a very important thing to note. And it was always like, Israel. This is not true. And the experience say it's a fact that any aid that could be used by Hamas, they used it first to wage war against Israel, not to feed their people. That's a fact. It's not speculation.
Yes.
So, you know, after Hamas overthrew Fatah in 2007, 6 or 7 failed attempts happened. And the last one was in October 12, 2017. And I said it's going to fail. Because at the same day of this agreement, but Fatah, when I say Fatah, I mean the Palestinian Authority, the party of Mahmoud Abbas, which is the chairman of the Palestinian Authority. So at the same day, you know, President Abbas said, well, there will be only one government, there will be only one army, there will be only one weapon. And the same day, Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas, said, yes, there will be one army and one weapon for the Palestinian Authority, but there will be another army for the resistance to fight Israel. So I said, I shared a video back then. I said how they are in agreement, and truly, they didn't manage to reach to an agreement. And this is also a thing to learn to the government of Israel. So if Hamas is not managing, or the PA is not managing to do any agreement with Hamas, I mean, how can Israel?
Yeah.
It's
a good point.
Logically, you cannot really, I don't think Israel should
Yeah.
or will be able, even if they want to. And that's one of my prayers, that they will never think of, not in any way, to do any sort of agreement with the Hamas government.
Would you say, just, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second, fundamentally or ideologically between Fatah and Hamas, behind the scenes, is there really any difference in their motivations? Like it seems like maybe Fatah or the Palestinian Authority on the outside wants to appear to the world that they're less aggressive, but it feels like behind the scenes there's really maybe the same motivations between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. What would you say?
Well, the question concerning Hamas is clear. Okay, it's by definition it's an Islamic liberation organization that is there to fight Israel. And according to their theology, is that any land that was under the authority of Islam could not be passed to a different authority. So it will always be that there will be no room for another state beside the Islamic State. And in their project, the whole Palestinian project, they're trying to throw it in the big basket of the Caliphate project, which is the big Islamic state that will take over all the Arab countries. For them, Palestine is irrelevant. When they win the election, there's a very important element that was not emphasized also in media. In the Parliament House in Ramallah, they went, they broke the windows, which is, let's say, these are people that, not them, let's say, some of them. But they put down the flag of Palestine and they raised the Hamas flag.
Wow. When was this again?
In 2007, in 27th of January 2016.
Okay.
So the whole Palestine is not irrelevant for them. It's just a step. And they are always emphasizing that it's an Islamic issue. So that was clear. And for me, from the war with Israel in 2012 and 2014, there was a major shift. In 2014, there was any notation of Palestine. It was all an pure Islamic jihad against Israel. The Palestinian Authority is different a little bit. The Palestinian Authority, there are many people and many elements that you could get from them, like coexistence.
Okay.
And they will not give up East Jerusalem. We have to understand. They will not give up the 67 borders. So it will always, this will always be the demand. But in other words, the corruption in the Palestinian Authority, I doubt if it's redeemable. I mean, I cannot see how this will serve the Palestinian nation with the corruption that there is. I mean, the Palestinians need something new. And when they elected Hamas, many people saw this as an act of democracy. I saw it differently. I saw the Palestinians reach to a point as if they are sentenced to death. And then they asked them, do you want to be shot or do you want to be hanged?
Wow.
They said, well, let us be shot.
Wow.
That's their selection to Hamas. You know, their dreams are way different and beyond anything that is closer to these two options.
Wow.
So now, in the last March of Return, and I also like to emphasize a few things, that people were all the time, also believers from the Arab side, unfortunately, accusing Israel of violence, including vicious states like, while Turkey was bombing the Kurdistan area, and that week 140 women and children died. They were criticizing Israel of doing ethnic cleansing.
Wow.
Anyway, you know, this is not true, because Israel, according to Israeli Ministry of Interior, in Israel, there are about 38,000 refugees from Eritrea and Sudan. They didn't shoot one single one of them. In fact, when they called for their deportation, all the nations stood against this idea, and they, like 3 months ago, they deported 4,000 willingly, and they gave each one of them $3,500. So why they did not shoot at these guys, and they shoot it at Hamas people, at the Gazans that are trying to penetrate? Of course, because they are. We all know why they want to go to Israel and what they want to do. They will stab Israelis, they will harm the Israelis, and it will be much worse. So let us assume the 40,000 that was going to enter in the day of Al-Nakba, entered. And let us assume that Hamas raised this generation to love the Jews. Let us assume, for argument's sake. And let us assume that only 10% of the 40,000 decided to go astray of the kind and love teaching that they received from Hamas. And they decided to stab Israelis. According to statistics, 70% of those will be shot to death. So you will have the result, like 3,000 Palestinians will be killed, and hundreds of Israelis. So the Israel as a state has to protect their people and the Palestinians from worse ramifications. So I'm totally against all these critiques that...
Let me just throw out a scenario. Let's say you are with your family near the Gaza border and some of the Hamas terrorists end up coming through a tunnel, they pop up and they see you and your family. You speak to them in Arabic. Do you think that would immediately turn them? They would go and attack a Jewish Israeli? Or because you are an Israeli citizen here in the land of Israel, are you also a target for them?
Well, they could also miss. It happened many times. Many people were stabbed that were not Jews. And I mean, it could happen, of course.
Okay.
And I mean, we are all the same. I mean, and I really feel pain when I see anyone from any side.
Yeah. So let's come into our last question that I have for you. You know, our friends around the world watching us right now live, you know, they're believers, most of them. They want to pray, they want to intercede, they want God's kingdom to come in the Middle East and among the Palestinian people, the Jewish people. How do you see, as an Arab Christian, ways that we can pray into this situation?
So first, I believe that Israel should not think of doing any form of agreement with Hamas, because it will be a very short-term agreement and it will not be good. Second, I want to note on something very important about the refugees and UNRWA. Now, I always spoke, I released many videos about this. I called it this unvaluated issue since the last 70 years. No evaluation happened to this, to the situation of the refugees.
Are these videos in English by chance?
No, okay. They're in Arabic. I speak to the nation, very hard issues. Anyway, we have 5.1 million refugees in Syria and Lebanon and Jordan, and many of them are living really with great discrimination. And of course, you know that the Syrians committed massacres to the Palestinians, although they don't teach that as well. So, and they're all living on charity from the UNRWA. Now, if these people will return to the West Bank, what would they do? They don't have money. They don't have they don't have good education. They have nothing. Now, the West Bank has 29% unemployment, and the minimum wage is 1,495 shekels, which is less than $400.
Wow.
So if another 5 million will go there, what will happen to the people?
Wow.
It will be a great disaster.
Yes.
It will get us into a civil war. You will be killed for 5 shekels in your pocket.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the Palestinian Authority or organization did not evaluate the situation of the Palestinians. On the contrary, 40,000 Palestinians in Ramallah that have American passports, there are in Ramallah 40,000 Palestinians that carry American citizenships. They are holding most of the economy in Ramallah.
Interesting.
So what would be more useful? To release those to seek asylum and to learn, to be educated, and to come with different mindset, or to have the refugees. It's unevaluated. And when President Trump decided to drop their help to the UNRWA, of course, I don't believe he did it for the sake of the Palestinians. For maybe different reasons, and there are good reasons for America. But I believe that this is, it is hard for the Gazans at the moment. But in the end, it will turn out to good. God knew that this should stop. It's like a curse, you know, inheriting this courtesy and legacy of being a refugee that never happened anywhere in the world. So I believe that we should pray that the Palestinians will be delivered from this mindset of the refugee mentality. It's like a curse. And I do see that curse in all the Arab world. They all want to immigrate. It's interesting that the name Hagar means to immigrate, you know. Sarah's servant, Abraham's wife.
Yes.
So to pray that really the Lord will deliver us from this curse, I would say. And I really see the hands of the Lord, and to bring people to salvation. And to be honest with you, I don't see any political solution. And it's hard for me to imagine something good comes out of the present Palestinian Authority. But God can surprise us, I'm sure.
Amen. Well, Bassem, thank you so much for joining me today. I can see already there's a lot more that we could talk about and kind of discover together about this subject. And friends, I just want to ask you again, would you like and share this? And also, I want to reaffirm and ask, would you guys please be praying for this situation, not only for what's happening in Gaza, but also for Pastor Bassem and his wife, his congregation. You know, God is giving him a voice more and more to speak to his Arab people, and that God would really use the media and the things that you know, he's sharing with his people, that they would pierce hearts and bring change and truth and light. And so we just appreciate you. Thank you for your prayers, standing also with Israel and the soldiers that are on the Gaza border. It's a difficult, stressful place to be. And we really need to see God's kingdom come in, and that his solutions from heaven would come into these situations. So anyways, we love you guys. We bless you, and we'll see you next week on Revive Live.